1855, a newspaper in New York, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, published a story of a couple who lived in a corner of Paris. Both wanted to get married, but the girl's parents didn't approve this marriage because they noticed something strange about the boy, like he did not seem quite normal. Despite their objection, they eventually accept the marriage. After the wedding events ended and when the couple entered their room, after some time, strange and terrifying sounds start to come from their room. When the people rushed to check, they found that the boy was completely covered in blood. He attacked the girl, tearing her apart like a wild animal. The girl died on the spot, and shortly afterward, the boy too met a painful death. But what is the real story behind this incident? And what was it that turned this man into such a terrifying creature? After a detailed examination by the doctors of the time, it was concluded that before the marriage, the boy had been bitten by a rabid dog. Brooklyn Daily Eagle's story on one side, but today we will look at the real story behind a rabid dog. Does being bitten by a mad dog really turns a person into a zombie-like beast? We will explore the myths and the actual reality behind this virus. First, if we look at what happens when this virus enters the human brain, it attacks the limbic system, the part of the brain that controls emotions like fear, anger, and aggression. So, if limbic system gets messed up, a lot of things can go wrong. That is the reason the virus has historically been compared to madness and zombie-like behavior. You know how dangerous this virus is. It is actually one of the only infectious diseases in the world with nearly 100% fatality rate. Ironically, it is terrifyingly dangerous also because when it enters the human body, it does not show any symptoms at first. A person may seem perfectly fine and no one may realize that they have the rabies virus. It is only after few days and sometimes even after a year that symptoms start to appear. But by that time, the virus has already entered the brain, and by then it is too late. At that time, the chances of survival are zero, and there is no cure available at that stage. So if someone is bitten by a rabid dog, they should immediately get the full series of vaccination. Usually 5 shots given over 28 days. Here, one problem is that you cannot always tell if you are bitten by a rabid dog or a normal dog, because even a rabid dog does not show any symptoms until the later stages of infection. So you might wonder whether you should get the vaccination or not. But doctors say you should never take the risk, always get vaccinated. Here, an interesting thing that you might not know, that rabies does not spread only from mad dogs, but animals like cats, bats, monkeys, goats, and mongoose can also carry this virus if they have been bitten by a rabid animal. Here is how this virus infects a person. Basically, this virus is found in the saliva of infected animal. What is terrifying is that rabies does not even need a bite. Just a lick near your eyes, nose, mouth, or an open wound can be enough for the virus to slip in silently. In the past, rabies was considered a curse and not a disease. If someone got rabies, people used to burn the hair of the dog that bite them and apply it to the wound. And sometimes they would even advise eating the head of the dog that bite them. And even today, some people suggest applying red chili powder to the wound. and beating it 7 times with a leather shoes. So the chili powder goes deep into the wound. It is said that red chili cures the infection. But these are all myths with no scientific backing. Now you might be a little frightened and thinking if we see a dog that looks mad, we should stay away from it. But what you might not know and you should be afraid of, that a dog with rabies does not always act mad. For example, an unfriendly dog, if infected with rabies, might suddenly become over-friendly, and you might wonder how it has become so friendly. On the other hand, a normal friendly dog, if infected with virus, could suddenly turn very aggressive, start foaming at the mouth, and might even bite someone. The interesting thing is that animals infected with rabies often lose their natural fear of humans. So if you see a wild animal somewhere acting unusually friendly and not backing away from you, it does not mean he liked you, but it could actually be a sign of rabies. There is also another myth that if someone is bitten by a rabid dog, they also start behaving like the dog. That is not true. The real symptoms include ADH, anxiety, confusion, hallucination, and hydrophobia, a fear of water. In the final stage, a person might become very aggressive or seem insane, but that does not turn them into a zombie-like beast who craves flesh. But one thing is certain, the victim's death is incredibly painful. To understand just how bad it is, consider this. Since the 18th century, there has been a ritual. If someone was bitten by a mad dog, their mother would take them to the ancient ruins, cry praying for their quick death. The pain was said to be so unbearable that even a mother wouldn't want to see her child alive like that. And the person who developed the vaccine for this dangerous virus was Louis Pasteur. In 1855, for the first time, he tested his vaccine on a human, a 9-year-old boy named Joseph Messier, who was bitten by a mad dog. Even today, we still use the same basic vaccine, but it only works if it is given as soon as possible after the exposure to the virus. The interesting thing is that the rabies vaccine is made from the rabies virus itself when it is inactivated or killed. And when it is injected into the body, what it does, it sends a warning to the immune system. The immune system gets activated, recognizes that such a virus has entered the body and destroys it before it can reach the brain. You know, dogs are the most loyal animals. If you take care of them, they will love you even more. There is really no need to fear them. If you are truly a dog lover, you should know that they also need to be vaccinated, especially if you are taking them hunting or out into the wilderness as a companion. If you have learned something from this video, please subscribe this channel. I am Saif Shawani. See you next time.